Okay, so today I'm basically, the cylinder heads had come in, the 601 heads, and I'm pretty much just going to explain why I decided to go with those over the 187 cylinder heads from the factory that came off the 305. Now, if you can see here, if you look into it, this is the factory 187 head, right? So if you compare this to the 601 head that I just purchased off eBay for, it was about $100, but then it was about 150 in shipping, so about 250 total. Right. These heads came off the 187s, and these are the 601s. Now, if you look at them just based off of size wise, the 187 versus the 601, the 601s are smaller, right? Just even like going across the top here. Right, so even if you look at the top right here, like going across here, and then by the time you get to here, you see your catch right here. It has more, it's bulkier. It has more weight up top. So that was the first reason these are better heads, 601 versus the 187s, are because they're lighter and they have less meat on them, right? So in weighing them, these heads, the 187s, came out to 49.8 in pounds. So these weigh 49.8, almost 50 pounds a piece. These cylinder heads weigh. These here weigh 43.6, right? So they weigh 6.2 pounds lighter, if my math is correct on me. Yes, they're 6.2 pounds lighter. So almost 15 pounds, between the two heads, 13 roughly, that you take off of the top end of your engine just by going from the 187 heads to the 601 heads. You save about 13 pounds off the top of your engine, right? Again, remember, this is a performance bill. It's not like a budget bill. It's not like we're going for max budget, but these are just small costs that'll help. Now, I say this other side over here mocked it up a little bit on the engine. Now, the reason I got the saran wrap around the engine is because if you don't cover your piston bores when they're open, they'll start to idolize and get rust and get all this extra stuff starting to build up on them, cause more issue. So because I didn't start to clean the block last night, I just wrapped it in saran wrap so they wouldn't start to rust out. For most part, the main reason I'm going, the other part, let's look at them back on this bench over here first before I take them off over and flip them over, right? So it's smaller in bulk size. It's lighter, okay? The exhaust ports on the 187 compared to the 601 are bigger, if you ask me. So when I measure them with the micrometer, right, the outside ones, these two versus these two, are kind of identical, are the same, about the same. It's hard to miss this one with this one, that one with that one, right? But these two are by factory already larger than these two. And that's where the porting comes in at, right? But basically by porting these heads, which needs work, as you can see, they have certain little areas, that you can port out and make these match just as good as these are, if not better, right? Because you can port these out too and make these a little better, right? The goal is going to be to go ahead and maximize the exhaust port capabilities of this cylinder head. So we're going to port these out, definitely these, to be able to get these a little bigger exhausts. All right, so that'll be benefit too. All right, we're going to have a lighter cylinder head, and it's going to have better flowing exhaust, just off a light, basic porting job. Now the springs, I'm going to take the springs off the LS and put them on here. So we're gonna have upgraded springs. These didn't come with the rockers, so I'm gonna have to use the rockers. They came off of these for these, but no biggie. We'll use the rockers for these. Now, with an issue come in, at another benefit to these that if you look at the chambers, right on the factory 187 head, it has a notch right here for the spark plug. So that little divot in there right there, hold that down. Right. But on the 601 heads, this spark plug, it doesn't have that notch. Right. So you can see on here, you have that notch. So when the valves open and close, the flow is affected by where this spark plug shoots out at. But then over here, it doesn't have that. So it allows for a more smoother flow of airflow. As it goes, the valves come in and come out. It's going to, in the combustion chamber bus, it's going to be more better flow just from the cylinder head because it doesn't have this notch here. As it's a better, more efficient pot, right? So just by fixing the exhaust to match, better exhaust, and already off a factory, this head already had better flowing exhaust than these flow. So you upgrade the camshaft to the block, right? And then by putting some basic heads on here that flow better, you already have a better package than what came out for not much. I mean, I only spent $250 so far, all right? So that's just to stay the same valve size heads. Now, we're not changing the valve size heads because I'm gonna keep them the same because I think they say they flow better that way, basically for this smaller package. Now, this has little nips in here that I've heard you want to keep there because this chamber actually comes to be a little smaller than a 3.7 than this chamber. All right, this one is like right at the max of the cylinder bore. This one you can tell is just a little more smaller. So even though they're supposed to be both 58 cc's, I believe this one may be 56 cc's because it seems like this chamber, this area in here is just a little bit smaller than here. Not by much, but enough to be able to bring the cc's down at least 2, I feel. So I believe they may have rated them at 58 to say they were 58, but by the cut of them, they hold about 56, which I feel will lower the compression or raise the compression and allow us to run that bigger cam that I originally was not gonna run with this. For most part, the biggest benefit to these are the intakes, right? So if you'll see over here, this is the factory, right? The 187 head. And this is the 601 head. Now already, because this is cut less bulkier, you can kind of see too, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it kind of like, it slants a little bit horizontally, diagonally on this side a little more to me, This 601, it's like direct, it's like a straight line. And it's like directly on top of the bore, so it's going to the fuel is going directly into the engine. This here got like a little slant to me, just like it's not on top of the bore. It's like it's slanted down just a little bit to kind of have try to get a more, better angle into it. But because of that, these heads are better with this small chamber because it's like the fuel is going directly on top of a small piston to be able to do nothing but combust and burn. So for one, the angle of these heads are better to me too, and they're a little lower, I believe. So not that matters too much, maybe with exhaust, but if you want to keep a factory hood, lower valve covers or smaller plated cylinder heads will be a good way to go. But the main benefit, I'm not gonna hold too much on this video, I'm only gonna make it 10 minutes. So the main reason these heads will be better is because I'm gonna use this little tippet here to show you a basic understanding of the intake ports. All right, so the gas and air comes in from the intake, it comes into these ports. If you can see here within the factory 187 head, there's a notch like right here, right? on both sides. And this is for the push rods, right? The push rod guys, a bit help the push rods go up and down. So while you see them on there, you don't see them over here, right? There's not there. I mean, sure, kind of a little bit, but not as pronounced as this one, right? Now these are better cut, right? The cylinders fit the gaskets almost perfectly, you know. Almost, you know, they almost, so you can figure, you can border it out a little bit, but you see with the gasket, you mainly want to focus on this area in here. But you have to be careful not to run into the push rod hold right there. So it's very limited how much you actually can make this flow better on the intake side. Now on this one, you don't have that issue. You actually have area that you can see needs to be, you know, ported, and then there's more of a smoother flow into there that you can round out and kind of make more better, right? So, and to show you, I'm gonna use this card here. So with the factory 187 heads, if the air, this is air and gas, right? If it comes in and it tries to go through this cylinder, boom, it's gonna hit right here, right? It won't, like you can't get it to go in without much, I went up top there, and without damaging the car, without bending me pushing harder is gonna make this bend and break. So you can imagine when the gas and air is coming through, once it hits right here, it's gonna bog up because it can't get past this area. So the cylinder heads are limiting the flow of air into the combustion chamber, which makes these heads, they're good for low torque, but when you got a lot of air and a lot of flow, they're not good cylinder heads. Whereas on these already, if you'll see the same card, once the air comes in through here, it's just gonna go in and it's gonna keep going. See, it went all the way down in there. When it didn't damage it, it didn't bend it in, it didn't do anything. It's just a straight shot, and it'll keep going in. And the same with that one. All that, they'll just keep doing it, right? So when the air and gas comes into here, it's gonna keep going, flow. And here, there's a stop, right? Well, I'll show you right. This is better. Let's show you. It's a stop right there, same one. And it's a stop. But it's trying to go in now because this one doesn't win. But for the most part, this is what limits these heads on the intake part. So that's the main reason I went with the 601 heads versus the 187 heads, because they have better flow characteristics, which will maximize whatever camshaft I put in here with the performer intake. Is basically just trying to maximize this performance of this package. Now, can you go with better heads? Of course. But again, this is a budget build. I'm not trying to go out and be the fastest. I'm just making what I have run better. All right, so we're gonna clean these heads up. We're gonna put the LS springs on here. Give them a valve job, basic, just a lapping and coating and clean. And then we're gonna put them on and install them on here with a new camshaft. I still haven't done the bottom end and cleaned the engine up, so we're gonna do that too. But I'm pretty sure we're not gonna remove the bottom end because I believe this engine is in good standing. And it just needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but I'm gonna find that out here in a second. So again, appreciate you for coming to Project Muscle Car. That's all I'm gonna end on this video. I'm gonna try to keep them under 15 minutes. For the most part, the 601 heads are better than the 187 head as far as flow characteristics, being able to function better for making the engine run better. Now, you can port them and make them do flow or do better than the other, just take a little work. But most part, that's what this is all about, putting in a little work.